The air in the palace grew thicker with tension as the days passed. Isabella kept her interactions brief, her words measured, and her movements careful. Every glance, every whisper felt like it could unravel everything she had worked so hard to conceal. William's warning echoed in her mind, a constant reminder of the precarious position she was in. Trust no one. She knew time was running out, and the threat was closing in. The only way to stop whatever was coming was to uncover the full extent of Luther's plans. She needed to know who else was involved, who else might be lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That evening, as the palace grew quiet and the torches flickered in the corridors, Isabella found herself alone in the emperor's private chambers. She sat at the edge of the grand bed, staring into the darkness, her thoughts spinning. The question of who had sent her back in time and why still gnawed at her. Had she been given a second chance to save this family? Or was she simply a pawn in a much larger game? A soft knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Isabella tensed, her mind instantly going to Luther or one of his hidden allies. But when the door opened, it was only Emily, her face pale but determined. "Edwin," Emily whispered as she entered, closing the door quietly behind her. "I've been thinking about what we found in William's room. He must have known more than he let on. Maybe there's something else he left behind, something that could tell us where he went or who took him." Isabella nodded. "We searched his quarters thoroughly, but perhaps there's somewhere else he would have hidden something important." Emily's eyes lit up with an idea. The garden. William often went there when he needed to think. He might have left something there, something only we would know to look for. Isabella's heart quickened. The garden, a place of tranquility, could very well hold the key to this mystery. "Let's go," she said, rising quickly. "But we need to be careful. If anyone is watching, we can't let them know what we're doing." They moved silently through the palace, avoiding the main corridors and taking back passages that Emily knew well. The palace garden was a beautiful, sprawling area filled with lush greenery, colorful flowers, and the soothing sound of water from a central fountain. But tonight, it felt eerie, the shadows long and dark under the dim moonlight. The two women moved cautiously, their eyes scanning the garden for any sign of movement. They reached a secluded area near the fountain, where William often sat to think. The spot was quiet, undisturbed, but Isabella's instincts told her there was something here. Emily crouched down, feeling along the ground for anything out of place. Isabella did the same, her fingers brushing against the cool earth. For a moment, it seemed they would find nothing, but then Emily gasped softly. "Here," she whispered, her hand moving aside a patch of Isabella to reveal a small, hidden compartment built into the stone base of the fountain. Isabella's heart leapt with anticipation. She helped Emily pry open the compartment, revealing a small, leather-bound book tucked inside. It was William's journal, worn and weathered, the pages filled with his cramped handwriting. Isabella quickly flipped through the pages, her eyes scanning the entries. It was clear William had been keeping detailed notes on everything he observed in the palace, suspicious activities, secret meetings, and his growing concern about General Luther. The last few entries were particularly chilling. "I have seen too much. Luther is planning something that could change everything. He has men loyal to him in places I never suspected. I fear for the Emperor's safety, and my own. They are coming for me. I cannot stay here. I must act quickly. But where can I go?" The final entry was scrawled hastily, almost illegible in its urgency. I have hidden the proof. If anything happens to me, it must be found. It is the only way to stop them. Edwin, if you find this, trust no one but yourself. Isabella's hands shook as she read the last words. Proof. William had found something that could expose Luther and his co-conspirators. But where had he hidden it? There was no mention of a location in the journal. We have to find it, Emily said, her voice trembling with fear and determination. Whatever he hid, it's our only chance to stop Luther. Isabella nodded, her mind racing. But where could he have hidden it? If it's as important as he said, it would have to be somewhere only he could access. Somewhere no one would think to look. They both fell silent, thinking hard. Then it came to Isabella in a flash of insight. The temple, she whispered. William was deeply religious. He would have hidden it somewhere sacred, somewhere he believed it would be protected. Emily's eyes widened. The temple outside the palace walls. Of course. It's secluded, and only a few people ever go there. Isabella stood, determination hardening within her. We need to go there now, before anyone realizes we found his journal. But as they turned to leave, a figure stepped out from the shadows, blocking their path. Isabella's heart stopped as she recognized the tall, imposing form of General Luther, his face twisted in a cruel smile. So, Luther said, his voice dripping with mockery, it seems our little emperor has been quite busy. I wondered when you would find William's little secret. Isabella's mind raced as she tried to think of a way out, but Luther's men emerged from the darkness, surrounding them. There was no escape. You've been playing a dangerous game, Edwin, Luther continued, his eyes cold and calculating. But it ends tonight. You should have known better than to trust anyone in this palace. Isabella clenched her fists, refusing to let fear take hold. You won't get away with this, Luther. Whatever you're planning, I will stop you. Luther laughed, a harsh, joyless sound. You're too late, Your Majesty. By the time anyone realizes what has happened, you and your family will be nothing but a memory. Isabella's heart pounded in her chest. She had to think, had to find a way to turn the tables. But with Luther and his men closing in, her options were dwindling fast. Emily stepped closer to Isabella, her voice low but fierce. Edwin, we have to fight. We can't let him take us without a struggle. Isabella nodded, her resolve hardening. They would fight, even if it was hopeless. They would not go down without a battle. But as Luther's men drew their weapons, a sudden noise rang out, a sharp, piercing whistle that cut through the night air. Everyone froze, and in the next instant, a group of armed figures emerged from the shadows, their faces hidden behind masks. Isabella's heart leapt with hope as the masked figures moved with swift precision, overpowering Luther's men in a matter of moments. It was an ambush that had saved them. The leader of the masked group stepped forward, pulling back his hood to reveal a familiar face, William. William! Emily gasped, relief flooding her voice. Isabella stared at him, a mixture of disbelief and gratitude surging through her. You're alive. How? William smiled grimly. I knew Luther would come after me, so I faked my disappearance and set this trap. I couldn't let him win, not after everything. Luther, now surrounded and outnumbered, glared at William with venomous hatred. You think this will stop me? You have no idea what you're up against. William's expression darkened. "We'll see about that." As Luther was taken into custody, Isabella felt a wave of relief wash over her. The danger wasn't over, but they had won this battle. They had exposed Luther and thwarted his plans, for now. But there were still so many unanswered questions. The proof William had hidden, the true extent of the conspiracy, and the mystery of how Isabella had come to be in this time, they were all threads that still needed to be unraveled. And as Isabella stood in the garden, the weight of the night's events settling over her, she knew that the real battle was just beginning. But she wasn't alone. With Emily, William, and the truth on her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. Because this was her story now, and she would see it through to the end, no matter where it led. The dawn broke over the palace, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson. The morning air was thick with the scent of wet earth, a promise of the rains to come. The events of the night still clung to Isabella like a shadow, but she felt a strange sense of calm. Luther was in chains, his plans foiled, at least for now. But the victory was bittersweet, and she knew deep down that the game was far from over. Isabella, William, and Emily reconvened in the Emperor's private chambers. The sun's rays filtered through the ornate windows, casting long shadows across the room. William placed the leather-bound journal on the table between them, its worn pages the only evidence of the darkness they had uncovered. "We need to find the proof William hid in the temple," Emily said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. "It's the only way to ensure Luther can never rise again." Isabella nodded, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Something about the events of the past days didn't add up. If William had faked his disappearance, why hadn't he gone straight to her? Why had he left that ominous message instead of telling her his plan? And why was Luther so confident, even in defeat? Before Isabella could voice her concerns, a soft knock interrupted them. A palace servant entered, bowing low. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice trembling. "There is someone here to see you. They claim it is urgent." Isabella exchanged a glance with William and Emily. "Who is it?" The servant hesitated, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. "A woman, Your Majesty. She says she knows the truth." A chill ran down Isabella's spine. "Send her in." The servant left, and moments later, the door opened again. A tall, regal woman entered the room, her presence commanding despite her simple, tattered clothes. Her face was veiled, obscuring her features, but her voice was clear and steady as she spoke. "Your Majesty, I am called Odina. I have traveled a great distance to deliver a message, one that you must hear." Isabella's heart pounded in her chest. "What is this message?" Odina lifted her veil, revealing strikingly familiar features that mirrored Isabella's own. Her eyes, dark and filled with a strange mix of sorrow and resolve, locked onto Isabella's. "I am from the future, like you." The room fell deathly silent. Isabella's breath caught in her throat, a whirlwind of emotions crashing over her. "How do you know about me?" Odina took a step closer, her gaze unwavering. "Because I was sent to find you. There are forces at play here that you cannot yet understand. Forces that transcend time itself." William tensed, his hand instinctively moving to his sword. "What do you mean?" Odina turned to him, her expression unreadable. "This is not just a battle for a throne or a kingdom. It is a battle for the very fabric of reality. Luther is only a pawn, as are we all. There are others, more powerful, more dangerous, who seek to manipulate time for their own gain. Isabella felt the ground shift beneath her, the enormity of what Ordina was saying threatening to overwhelm her. But why me? Why was I brought here? Because you are the key, Ordina said softly. The key to stopping them. Your presence in this time was no accident. You were chosen, just as I was. But the path ahead is perilous, and the choices you make will determine the fate of not just this kingdom, but of all time. Emily's eyes widened with fear. What are you saying? That there's something worse than Luther? Ordina nodded. Yes. And they are already here, hiding in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. They orchestrated the deaths of the Empress family, and they will not stop until they have what they seek. Isabella's mind reeled. She had come here to uncover the truth, to save a family, but now it seemed she was caught in a much larger web of deceit and danger. How do we stop them? Ordina's gaze softened, her voice tinged with sadness. The proof William hid is not just evidence of Luther's betrayal. It is a map, a guide to finding the true enemy. But once you start down this path, there is no turning back. You will be hunted, betrayed, and tested in ways you cannot imagine. Isabella took a deep breath, the weight of her decision settling on her shoulders. She had always known that this journey would be dangerous, but she had never imagined it would lead to something so far beyond her understanding. Yet, she could not turn away now, not when so much was at stake. I will do whatever it takes, Isabella said, her voice firm. I will find this proof, and I will stop them. Ordina nodded, her expression solemn. Then I will help you. But be warned, Your Majesty, the closer you get to the truth, the more dangerous it becomes. Trust no one, not even those closest to you. With that, Ordina turned and left the room, leaving Isabella, William, and Emily in a stunned silence. The air seemed heavier, charged with the weight of the revelation they had just received. William broke the silence first, his voice low and determined. We need to find the proof, now. Before they realize what we're doing. Isabella nodded, but her thoughts were still swirling. Ordina's warning echoed in her mind, trust no one, not even those closest to you. But who could she trust if not William and Emily? Were they all just pawns in a game far beyond their comprehension? As they prepared to leave for the temple, a strange sensation washed over Isabella, a tingling at the base of her skull, as if she were being watched. She shook it off, focusing on the task ahead. But the feeling lingered, a nagging suspicion that something wasn't right. The journey to the temple was swift and uneventful, the night sky darkening with the promise of rain. When they arrived, the ancient structure loomed before them, its stone walls weathered by time. The temple was silent, deserted, its sacred aura palpable in the still air. They entered the temple cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the vast, empty space. The air inside was cool, thick with the scent of incense and ancient stone. Isabella's heart raced as they made their way to the altar, where William believed the proof was hidden. As they approached, William knelt down, his hands feeling along the base of the altar. Isabella and Emily watched anxiously, their breaths held in anticipation. After a tense moment, William found a hidden compartment, just as he had suspected. He pried it open, revealing a small, intricately carved box. Isabella reached for the box, her fingers trembling as she lifted it. The carvings on the lid were ancient, their meaning lost to time, but they pulsed with a strange energy that made Isabella's skin prickle. She slowly opened the box, revealing a single, rolled-up parchment inside. Unfurling the parchment, Isabella's eyes widened as she read the cryptic symbols and drawings etched into it. It was a map, just as Ordina had said, but it was unlike any map Isabella had ever seen. It seemed to depict not just places, but moments in time, events that had happened, and events that were yet to come. But before Isabella could decipher its meaning, a cold, sharp blade pressed against her throat. "Drop it," a voice hissed in her ear. Isabella froze, her blood turning to ice. Emily gasped in horror, and William sprang to his feet, his sword drawn in an instant. But it was too late. They were surrounded. From the shadows, figures emerged, their faces hidden by dark hoods. They moved with a deadly grace, their weapons glinting in the dim light. And at their center, holding the blade to Isabella's throat, was Ordina. "I told you, Your Majesty," Ordina said, her voice now cold and devoid of the warmth it had held before. "Trust no one." Isabella's mind raced, her heart pounding in her chest. "Why? Why are you doing this?" Ordina's grip tightened on the blade. "Because you were never meant to find this. You were supposed to fail, to die here and now. The future must remain as it is, or everything we have worked for will be undone." William lunged forward, but Ordina's soldiers were quicker. They disarmed him with brutal efficiency, forcing him to his knees beside Emily. "Your fate was sealed the moment you came here," Ordina continued, her tone almost regretful. "But don't worry, Edwin. You won't remember any of this. You'll wake up back in your own time, none the wiser, and history will proceed as it should." Isabella's vision blurred, the map slipping from her fingers as the reality of the situation crashed down on her. This was it, her end, her failure. Everything she had fought for, everything she had sacrificed, was slipping away. But just as darkness began to close in, a sudden, overwhelming force surged through her. The temple seemed to tremble, the air crackling with an unseen power. The map, still clutched in her hand, began to glow with an otherworldly light. Ordina recoiled, her eyes wide with shock and fear. What is this?" Isabella felt the power within her, a force she had never known, rising to the surface. It was as if time itself was bending around her, responding to her will. The soldiers around her faltered, their movements slowed as if caught in a viscous web. With a single, desperate thought, Isabella pushed back against the force that held her. The blade at her throat vanished, the pressure on her chest lifting. The world around her began to warp, the temple dissolving into a swirling vortex of light and shadow. She was falling through time, through space, through a void that stretched on forever. And then, with a jolt, she awoke. Isabella gasped, her eyes flying open to find herself in a room that was both familiar and strange. It was the Emperor's chambers, but not as she had known them. Everything was pristine, untouched by the decay she had seen before. The air was warm, filled with the scent of fresh flowers. She looked down at herself and realized with a start that she was no longer in the Emperor's body. She was herself again, dressed in her own clothes from the future. But how? How had she returned? A soft voice spoke from behind her, and Isabella turned to see a figure standing by the window. It was a woman, her face gentle, her eyes filled with a deep, knowing sadness. "Welcome back, Isabella," the woman said softly. "You've come home." Isabella's heart leapt in her chest. "Who are you? What happened?" The woman smiled faintly. I am the keeper of time, the one who watches over the threads of history. You were never meant to be there, in that time. But your presence disrupted the balance, and so I had to bring you back. Isabella's mind spun with questions, but the woman's calm, soothing presence kept her grounded. But what about the emperor? What about the people I left behind? What happens to them? The keeper's smile faded, replaced by a look of deep sorrow. Their fate is sealed, just as it always was. The events you witnessed were always meant to happen, but your actions have set something new in motion. A new path, a new possibility, one that may yet change everything. Isabella's heart ached with the weight of it all. But I couldn't save them. I couldn't stop it. You did more than you know, the keeper said gently. The map you found, the power you unleashed, it has already begun to ripple through time. The future is no longer certain, Isabella. You have given it new life. Isabella struggled to process it all. But what now? What do I do? The keeper stepped closer, her eyes filled with a strange, almost prophetic light. Now, you continue your journey. The knowledge you gained, the strength you discovered, it will guide you in the days to come. You are a part of the story now, Isabella, and it is far from over. With that, the keeper raised her hand, and the room around Isabella began to fade, dissolving into a soft, warm light. The last thing she heard was the keeper's voice, echoing in her mind. Remember, Isabella, time is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. And then, with a final, blinding flash, the light consumed her. When Isabella opened her eyes again, she was back in her own time, lying on the cold floor of the documenter's hall. Her heart was racing, her mind spinning, but she was alive, back in her own body, back in her own time. She sat up slowly, her hands shaking as she touched her face, her clothes, confirming that it was real. She was home. But as she looked around, she noticed something strange. The map, the ancient, glowing map, was still in her hand. Isabella's breath caught in her throat as she unrolled the parchment. The symbols and drawings were still there, pulsing faintly with that same otherworldly light. But now, there were new markings, new paths that had not been there before. Her mind raced with possibilities. The map wasn't just a guide to the past, it was a key to the future, a future that was now uncertain, malleable, and full of potential. As Isabella stared at the map, a slow, determined smile spread across her face. The mystery of the Emperor's family was only the beginning. There were greater forces at work, greater challenges ahead. But now, she had the power to face them. The journey wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. With a newfound sense of purpose, Isabella rose to her feet, the map clutched tightly in her hand. The keeper had given her a gift, a chance to rewrite history, to forge a new destiny. And she was ready to embrace it. As she stepped out of the hall and into the bright, bustling world of her own time, Isabella knew one thing for certain. The past, the present, the future, they were all connected. And she was the link that would bring them together. No longer just a documenter, Isabella was now a guardian of time. And whatever came next, she would be ready.